So, how many years after college should you wait to pursue graduate education? So, should you go to med school or law school or get an MBA or whatever kind of master's or something that you're interested in? Should you do that right out of college or should you wait a few years? Um, it all depends. So, in some instances, and I think in the simplest of instances, it actually tends to make a lot of sense when people go right away just because they're more kind of in sync with the habit of being at school. So, sometimes it's easier for that reason because once you fall out of the habit of studying all the time, of all nighters, of just everything that, being in the education system and being a part of that. Once you fall out of the habit of some of those things, sometimes it's a lot. You have to kind of like get back into the sync of it mentally and get used to it again. Um, so somebody who's right out of college is more accustomed to that already, so they might as well keep going. And just for momentum too, a lot of times it's easier if people just maybe they take one gap year or two, which is still not too many, but it's easier to keep up with the momentum of something if you're still accustomed to what it is like to do that, whatever that is. But sometimes people like to wait longer because they're not sure what kind of graduate program they want to pursue, or maybe they owe a lot of, they owe a lot from their undergraduate education and they want to pay that off first. So if you owe tens of thousands of dollars from your undergrad, then it makes sense that you want to trim some of that down or figure out what's the best way to manage that first before you take on more debt. But if that's completely paid off and you're all set to go after the next step, then it might make sense to go ahead. Another thing that comes up sometimes is that people want to go out in the workforce and kind of try out the career they think they're interested in. So, for example, they think they want to pursue, the legal field, so they can spend like a year or two trying out that field, working in a firm and seeing what that's like, or they think they want to pursue a certain, kind of business. Get an MBA and go into a certain kind of business management role. So they might want to try out those kinds of organizations and see what that's like. Um, but so those are the kinds of different things that may weigh into the choices that a person makes in terms of whether they want to, jump into into the next step, the next sort of, post undergrad program right away, or if they want to, wait it out and, save money or pay off some of their debt or, um, get to know the world more, get to know the industries more that they think they're interested in. Those are the kinds of things to take into account. But I wouldn't wait too long. I think that if someone takes a really long time before they go back, then they may never go back, just because it's like it's easier to keep doing something when you're more accustomed to it. It's not impossible to go back after 10 years or more, but it's more likely that you would just forget about it. But maybe that's just as well. If you end up forgetting it, maybe things are going so well, it doesn't matter. After all, there are people who are in certain careers where everybody has like a master's, but they don't even have a college degree because they got started so early and they just apprentice their way completely. And that's, if you're able to do that, that's great. But so those are things to take into consideration.